I'm Allison Miller, the CEO and founder of Happy Camper Live, and we are here at the Happy Camper Live podcast with Michelle Steiner. Welcome, Michelle.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Allison. I certainly appreciate that. Um, my name is Michelle Steiner. I live in Pennsylvania with my husband, Ron, and our two cats, Jack and Sparrow. And I work in a school as a paraeducator with students that have disabilities and some who don't. This year I'm working with sixth graders. And I also have my own blog called Michelle's Mission, where I talk about my life with having a learning disability, and I get to feature my photography and a forum as well.
Yeah, that is wonderful. And we will talk more about your website towards the end, but everybody does need to go check out your photography and your blog and everything because your content is amazing. So tell me a little bit about your story. And, it seems that, you have this track that you've taken in your professional life, but it's also based on your own experiences. So I would love to hear more about that if you'd like to share.
I would love to. My journey with a learning disability began when I was in kindergarten. My kindergarten teacher noticed that I was really struggling academically and socially. I was my parents' first child, and they didn't have a lot of development to be able to base it on. So they sent me to kindergarten, and I was really struggling. And my teacher recommended that I get tested for having a learning disability. And sure enough, once they tested me, they found out that I had one. They knew I wasn't going to be a mathematician. That was one of the things that everyone could really agree on from a young age. And I had to repeat kindergarten the following year in a different school in our district. Mm. And I began to also receive specialty instruction and accommodations with that.
Yeah, so when you look at the children you're working with now and the message you want to give out to the world and, through this podcast and other ways that vehicles that you've been doing that, you do have a core message that you'd like to give, Michelle, right?
Yes, definitely. The message that I just would love to give out is I definitely love to educate people on what learning disabilities are. A lot of times the students that I come in with, it's like hearing a recording of myself at that age. I hate my disability and I wish I didn't have it, and I'm stupid. And I get that chance to tell them, well, you have a learning disability. You're not stupid. Your brain is just wired differently. And I love to offer that encouragement. That's another one of the things that is part of my mission, to encourage things that my students are good at, and just to, give them that chance to go on and for things that they really do well at, and to strive for that. And I also just love to empower people that have disabilities and people who don't, so they can be empowered adults whenever they go out into the world.
Yeah, so when the work that you do with the kids in the schools, what kind of challenges are the kids facing? Like, what is it that you're seeing, identifying, and working with?
A lot of times it's academic. That can definitely be something that's really hard for them. Some of them might have faced problems with reading, math, and so I will get that opportunity to go in and be able to help them with their work that the teacher has already went over, and reinforce it. I cannot help them with math, and I usually do my disclaimer at the beginning of every year that I'm really sorry I can't help you with math, but I can help you with other things as well. I see a lot of times social aspects of it too. A lot of our students, they will get picked on because they have a disability, or they feel different from their peers. Sometimes though other peers may not understand their disability. We had a student before that she was doing a different level of math than another one was in a study hall, and she goes, well, I wish I was doing that math. And I had that opportunity to go in and just gently explain, well, everybody has things that they struggle with, and everybody has things that they're good with, and what might be easy for one person may not be easy for somebody else.
Yeah, And makes a lot of sense. Talking about this in the learning context and math and reading and
Mhm.
things like that, but I'm curious how some of these things, as I'm thinking about it from a summer
Mhm.
camp perspective, show up. But when you talk about the social side of this, you see it all the time because you have some kids that are just more athletic and able to hit a baseball, and others that are more musical or artistic. And I think the point is, like, we all have our strengths. And
Mhm.
as educators and parents and caregivers and camp directors, our job is to help build the kids' self-esteem and to help them feel as positive as they can about themselves, regardless about whether, they have any of these other challenges.
Right, exactly, because everybody has something they are good at. I was one of the students that, with my visual perception and eye-hand coordination, I would blink every time a ball came at me, and competitive sports wasn't something I can do. I like to do non-competitive,
Mhm.
but one of the first things with interest was reading. My dad read to me when I was a young child, and I learned to love books and reading. And also writing. I can remember I wrote my first story about a dinosaur when I was in third grade. And my dad said, "Oh, this is really good." And that just encouraged me to write more and to make that one of my passions as well.
Yeah, so to be able to find the support to narrow in on what your child's needs are is
Yes,
sort of one part of the process. And then finding the right support and building their confidence, right, is what
exactly.
I'm hearing.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
so you seem to focus on kids once they have a specific diagnosis or,
Yes.
right, so that you're given, that direction of where they're needing to
Mhm.
develop and things like that. What advice do you have for a parent who's sort of looking at their child that's struggling, and just kind of, just is this what it's supposed to be? They're not one of a bunch of siblings to say, they're the first child.
Right.
Sometimes people don't know what is supposed, and I don't really like this word at all. So I kind of, in quotes, normal, like this, like they have no concept, of what other kids are doing until they even get to kindergarten, right?
Right, exactly. I really encourage parents, though, to ask their preschool teacher or other professionals in their lives, is this behavior or is this, how are they performing? Are they, I mean, not, I don't like to use the word normal myself, but are they doing what a typical thing would
Yeah.
be expected at that age? Uh, what is their development, what are their skills, and just some of those things to pick up on that. And if somebody has a concern, to definitely just get that checked out. I mean, it's, be able to just look into all the resources that are available even before a child can get into school. There's early intervention programs too, where parents can go and just see how their child is developing and seeing if there's something that they might have to get just looked at. And I also encourage parents that if their child does have some issues with that, not to give up on them, because my parents didn't give up on me. And so much of my success is so much because of my parents just always standing beside me and supporting me. I can remember they explained to me in really simple age appropriate terms that I had a learning disability and I learned differently. And just having that knowledge was helpful, because when I went to school, a lot of my peers were the ones who were giving me misinformation, telling me I wasn't smart or I couldn't do that. But knowing that my parents believed in me and gave me the correct information made a world of difference as well.
Yeah, you're getting your information as a child
Mhm.
from a source that you can trust and
Right.
not from the outside world who has different labels they want to put on, kids and anything else. So for you as a parent or caregiver to be able to
Mhm.
identify is what I'm hearing, and then advocate and then build up, right? Build up
Yeah.
their confidence, be there to support them, help them with understanding what the issue is so that the child can feel really good about themselves and they don't see it as something is wrong. So those are really important points, Michelle,
Mhm.
like really important points. as I'm thinking also about the work that you do in the classroom, and I don't know how it does apply in the summer camp world, but I look at our camp counselors who are all usually like really interested in education and social work and all of these different fields. I can see that certain things do come into play. I don't know how familiar you are with the camp routine, but there are often times when you have letter writing, or I was talking to on another podcast about just like learning tennis scores. So if you're somebody who struggles with, math, like learning how to do the tennis scoring could be really hard. So how could you sort of apply some of your tips to a summer camp counselor or director working with a child that might have some of these challenges?
One of the things I love to do is to explain things and to be able to adapt things to the way each child can do that individually. And everybody learns things maybe in different ways. Some might learn things visually, others might learn auditory, others might just learn by doing. And just finding out how that child learns best is one thing. It's also breaking down information for them, especially new information. That can be really hard for someone who's neurodivergent to be able to process new information. But if you can break down the steps, okay, when we play tennis or we score tennis, this is the first thing that we do. And after we do that, this is the next thing. And we just keep on adding the information, but making sure they understand it. And just things are done by a step-by-step basis. And I also think it's important that we give a lot of concrete examples too. Sometimes when you talk about things that are really abstract and people may not understand what they mean. And it's just giving those concrete examples that they're able to really be able to understand and to know is important.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think the strategy of breaking things down because in a camp environment, in school, you're able to have that one-on-one service where you can take a child and, work with them like you do in your role. But sometimes in camp, you just have a group of kids and everybody's got to get their sneakers on and like get out the door and, move. And, you've got that child who looks like they're showing up, maybe lagging behind, and and it's not to like make assumptions about why. Oh, they're lazy or they're tired or they don't want to play, they don't like it, they don't like camp. Like it could just be that that child is struggling with the routine or just other things that are causing them to just not be as go with the flow, right, as the other kids in the group.
Exactly, because sometimes what we think might be lack of motivation or somebody just trying to be difficult is really somebody that's having difficulty with that. And I think it's having that understanding and that compassion for that person and just giving even that extra time, maybe a 5 minutes heads up if we're having trouble getting our shoes on and going out. That gives them that extra time to process what you're saying, get their shoe and to be able to get their shoes on. I think those things help too.
Yeah, we were also, talking a lot lately about the summer slide. And so, you're working one-on-one with a child in the schools, and then summer comes and, everything is sort of, stops academically. Do you have any guidance for any family members trying to support their child over the summer, that could be helpful?
I would say probably look and see if your school has an extended school year program where they might have a couple weeks where they can go and be able to do activities at the school. That's definitely something that parents can look into, but also engage with the children, your children, read books to them, go to art museums, go to just give them a lot of those different experiences. And be able to talk with them through activities. If you're cooking, that's a great time to show a lot of different things. You can show science with that. And you can also do a lot of math, like with measuring and times that it needs to be baked and how we modify recipes. So I think just engaging with the children and doing a lot of those activities and seeing what resources they have at the child's school or even at camps can be helpful.
Absolutely. And I think cooking is the perfect example because you are, using a lot of different skills when you're cooking. And it's fun too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so fun. So great. I definitely think that your mission is such a positive message and such an important message to get out there, Michelle. And I'm wondering if there's anything else you'd like to add to tell our audience so that we can make sure that, your voice is heard here and that you can contribute to the raising of a happy camper somewhere else in other homes.
I would just love to encourage people to just not to give up on their child that has a disability, and to just encourage them and just to see what their strengths are that they like, and just to keep on plugging away with them.
Michelle, I just want to ask you something. When you say don't give up, what does give up look like?
I think a lot of times when we have a child that has a disability, we might think, well, they're never going to be able to go to college, or they're never going to be able to learn how to do something. And a lot of parents just think that they can't do that, and we don't expect them to be successful. And my parents wanted me to be independent, and whether that was going to trade school, whether it was going to be at college, they wanted me to have those skills to learn how to take care of myself. But I think it's also the reality too. My parents knew I wasn't going to be a mathematician, and they didn't expect perfect grades. So I think sometimes it's really important that we don't totally give up on somebody and not expect success, but we also don't expect perfection as well.
Yeah, so you may modify your expectations
Yes.
and create a standard for performance that is based on your child, not necessarily based on the rest of the world. And success comes in many different ways.
Yes.
And speaking of success and your creative side, before we leave, tell us about your photography and your writing, because your photography is incredible. So,
oh, well, thank you so much. I have my own blog. I'm a disability writer and photographer, and I have my own blog called Michelle's Mission, where I educate people on learning disabilities, and I write about them and my life and my experience. And I also combine my love of photography. A lot of my pictures come from walks that I get that chance to take because I'm not able to drive. And I'll be in the car with my husband or somebody else, and I'll say, "Did you see that?" And they're like, "No," they're focused on driving. And I later get a chance to go back and take a picture of that thing. And people will often say, "Oh, you bring out details in a flower that other people may miss." So I combine them with my articles. I also have a little store where people can purchase my artwork. And I have a forum where people with disabilities can connect.
that's wonderful. And tell everybody about your website, the name, and also where we can find you on social media. Just give us it all.
Sure, that'd be great. My website name is Michelle's Mission, and you can find it at michellesmission.net. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Wonderful. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being here today at the Raising a Happy Camper podcast. It was great speaking with you. You're inspiring, you're creative, and you're doing great work in the world. So it's really been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you too, Allison.
All right. So this was Raising a Happy Camper podcast with Michelle Steiner. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.
Take a moment to shine.